and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 31st March today, and in this video, we are going to solve some important questions which could be very much relevant for your preparation. But before we'll start our discussion, I would like to add here a few things which I believe are important for you guys. While I was framing these questions, what I assumed, what I usually assume when I frame these questions for you guys, that you would had not read the newspaper. So if you had not read your newspapers yet, then you don't have to worry. You know why? Because in these lectures we take up the most important articles from the newspapers which are very much important for you, which are very much relevant for you guys, and we discuss them here. So we give you the news analysis of the day, and also at the same time we derive the possible prelims questions from those particular articles, so that it will give you the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, how a question can be asked from those particular articles. So in this way it covers your news analysis also, and at the same time it gives you the important questions which could be relevant for your preparation. So this is what our approach is when we are framing these questions. Now with this I would like to mention one more thing here, that in this video, usually in these videos which we discuss questions, as I earlier mentioned, the first set of questions which we discuss here are from the current affairs, which we discussed already, how we take them. After discussing questions with respect to the current affairs, we take questions from the static portion. So here what we do, we take up every day, we take up a static topic, and currently you know that we are discussing Indian polity. And in Indian polity, right now we are discussing the Parliament of India, and in Parliament of India we are discussing Rajya Sabha. So today we are going to discuss few concepts related to Rajya Sabha, which may seem when you are reading the book, when you are reading your notes, or when any faculty is teaching you, those topics may seem very much unimportant to you, may seem least you would be least concerned towards those topics. But trust me, these questions, when any question asked from such topics, when any question asked from such topics or asked in the exams, most of the students fail in answering such questions. So our approach is to catch up with every important article, to catch up with everything which is related to your syllabus, and frame a question on that, so that it will prepare you very well for the exam. So this is what we are going to do in the second phase of our discussion, in the second part of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion. Here we will take up a previous year question. Our aim is to discuss the question first, to find the answer of that question. Second, to find the vocabulary which has been used by the UPSC for framing these papers. What is the vocabulary used by UPSC? And third, to find the trends followed by the UPSC. What model they had used for framing your questions? Which type of question is that? What are the methods which we can implement with respect to these questions? So this is what we are going to learn in the third phase of our discussion, and also we are going to learn how we can implement this knowledge which we will get from these questions in the upcoming exam. So this is a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now with this, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel, do share it with your friends, and please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. This initiative is for you, so please do communicate with us, so that we will understand you better and provide the better information for you guys. So with this, let's have a look at the first question which we had brought here. As you can see here on the screen, the question is basically about the Central Advisory Board of Education. CAB, we can abbreviate it as Central Advisory Board of Education. Now you may ask me, or if you won't ask, but I will tell you, because as I had promised you, when we will discuss the questions, we will give you the news analysis, so that you don't have to worry about what was in the news. So this is our aim here. So before the Board of Education, as the name suggests, it has the advisory nature. So with respect to education, with respect to UPSC, you should remember one thing: when you have to solve any question in the UPSC, most of the answer is already given in the question. So you have to analyze the question first. You have to read it word by word, know the meaning of the words, know the vocabulary, and then only it makes it easier for you to solve the question. So here we have to solve the question with respect to Central Advisory Board of Education. Let's solve it. First statement: it was first established in 1920 and has been renamed and has remained a continuously functioning body since then. So here, if you will look at this question, if for example you don't have the proper knowledge about this question, you would feel something is fishy with this statement. You would feel that this statement has remained a continuously functioning body. So you will feel that something is wrong with this statement. If you will analyze the statement and you don't have the proper knowledge of the question, you may mark such question, which is a statement which creates doubt in itself. You may mark such statement incorrect. Then again in 1935 it was restarted, it was revoked. So this is the timeline of it. So first statement becomes incorrect. Second statement, this Central Advisory Board Board of Education serves as an advisory body to both the central and state governments on matters related to education. 100% correct, nothing wrong with the statement. Third statement, the Union Minister of Education chairs the Central Advisory Board of Education. This is also true. So please do remember that who chairs this system, who chairs the Central Advisory Board of Education. It is Union Ministry of Education, and also it serves as an advisory body to both the central and the state governments on the matters related to education. Now I hope you had got the basic understanding about it. When it was established in 1920, then it was stopped in 1923, then it was again brought in 1935. Since then it is continuously functioning. So till this, I hope you had understood the question, you had understood basic information about the Central Advisory Board of Education. Now with this, I would like to mention now, let's come to the context of the question, why we had brought this question here. Basically there was an article in the newspaper which was written by Miss Sonia Gandhi, which talked about, in a way, which Miss Sonia Gandhi criticized it. I told you this article was written by Miss Sonia Gandhi, and she, in a way, criticized the education policy, the education system in India, which has been established since 2016, we can say onwards. In a way, basically her approach was to criticize the government, which is not what we need to know. But here what she mentioned, a few points which were very much important. She highlighted that there are three C's which are, which haunt our education system. First C, what is that? The first C is centralization. Centralization in our education system, it does haunt our education system. For example, National Education Policy 2021, how there is strain between the center and the states like Tamil Nadu, how they don't want to impose the three language policy on their particular state, and how they blame that center is withholding the funds with respect to the with respect to Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. So these are some allegations put forward by the Tamil Nadu government, or we can say by the Tamil Nadu government to be more precise, with respect that as they had not implemented the three language policy, and they believe that it is the punishment from the center, that as we had not implemented the three language policy, so they are blocking the funds. But these are allegations, and these are just allegations with respect to this center. This is not the case. It was highlighted by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. So second thing in this in the centralization part itself was about the Central Advisory Board of Education. As we had solved this, as we sorted this question out, we found out that it is an advisory body which which in a way advises, which serves for the center and the state governments on matters related to education. Usually there used to be, there should be, what we assume that there should be continuous meetings going on between the center and the states. But unfortunately, it has been found out since 2019, when when the national education policy was introduced, a new national education policy in 2019, when it came in, since 2019 there has been no such meeting of the Central Advisory Board of Education. And it highlights the Miss Sonia Gandhi, she highlighted that how it can hinder the relationship between the center and the states, and how it can impact the education system. This was the first part which she discussed, the centralization. Then the second thing, which she further discussed about there is communalization in the education system, how it is impacting the education system. For example, how public these government schools which were in our country, how the number of government schools had reduced. Sorry, not communalization. That was the third part which we have discussed. It is commercialization. In the second part, she discussed the commercialization of the education system, how the public sector schools, how the government schools had declined since years, and it has been established that approximately 89,000 government schools had been shut down. Approximately 89,000. So please remember this data: 89,000 government schools had been shut down since few years, and more private schools had came in. And because of this, there are concerns that it will lead to the commercialization of the education. People will be forced to go to the private schools where they will have to pay more, and also some other policies from the central government. For example, earlier the UGC would provide grants to the education system, but it was neglected since 2016 when higher education funding agency came in, and they will provide loans to the education institutes. They will provide loans which will lead to the more commercialization. Students will have to pay more money under this scheme, so it also leads to the commercialization. Then the third thing which was highlighted by this by third thing which was highlighted by Miss Sonia Gandhi, it was about the you know communalization. As the government has made it, appointments are made much much center based. Reservations had reduced, so eligibility criteria is lesser now, so it can lead to what? It can lead to the communalization in the education system. So these things she had highlighted, and that's why we had discussed the question. So with respect to your prelims preparation, what could have been important for you from this discussion, which was in today's newspaper, is about the Central Advisory Board of Education, which you needed to know what it is about, when it was introduced, what is its role, and who chairs it. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding of the question as well as the context of the question. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here, as you can see, the question is basically about the All India services. What does the question say? Before going to the context of the question, let's solve the question here. Let's see what does the question say. The question says, with reference to the All India services, consider the following statements. First statement: the All India services are constituted under the Article 312 of the Constitution of India. 100% correct, nothing wrong with the statement. Second statement: the power to create all India services is vested exclusively with Parliament upon a recommendation by the President of India. No, there is no such recommendation needed. So second statement is incorrect. Third statement: officers of the All India service are recruited by the Union government but are allocated to various state cadres where they serve under the state governments. This is 100% true, nothing wrong with the statement. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is, or we can say, or correct statements are statement 1 and statement 3 only, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option B. With this, I hope you had understood the question here. What is the crux of the question? It is about All India services. Here I would like to mention one more thing: how many All India services are here, because I expect this year this question may be asked. You might remember when you filled the papers, there were many options for what were your preferences. when you filled your form for the UPSC, if you are listening to me, this question can be important for you. They may confuse you here. How many all India services are there? As I remember, there were approximately 17 to 20 services mentioned in that while we were filling the paper. So you may get confused there. There might be 17 or 20 all India services, but this is not the case. Here you need to know there are only 3 all India services. So please do remember that. So here this question can be relevant for your preparation, and the UPSC may confuse you because you had already filled the form. This had remained in your mind that there were many options, so you may tend to go for the wrong option. So please do remember that how many all India services are there. So with this, let's come to the context part why we are discussing this question. Yesterday, also a day before yesterday, we discussed the issue with the collegium. We saw that how the collegium helps in appointing the how they recommend the names of the to be judges in the Supreme Court or High Court, and how there are various issues with the collegium system. We discussed that how there are various issues with the collegium system, that there is least transparency in it. We don't know how the appointees are appointed, how the nominees are nominated. We don't know what is the criteria behind that. Well, there are chances that their nepotism may be going on there, or something, or other issues, or there are very high chances that there, as we saw that in the Delhi case, in the Delhi High Court judge's case, that there are chances that corruption, the money which was found in his appointment, that there are chances that the judges are too corrupt, as we know that. So with respect to this, we need to know, there is the need to overhaul this system. In 2016, 2015, NJAC came in, but it did not went well with the judges. It did not went well with the judiciary, and they in a way neglected this. They in a way made it unconstitutional. So here there is discussion about it. Even in collegium system there is no transparency. So what could be the solution? So here the author highlighted that the author highlighted that there is a need for the judicial service. All India judicial service should be there. Indian judicial service should be there, through which the appointments should be done, and it will have various good impacts. There would be, it would be merit based. First of all, there would be transparency with respect to that, and also there would be transparency with respect to that. It would be merit based, and it will give equal opportunity to everybody with respect of the gender cost or anything else. So it might be the solution to the drawbacks of the collegium, but still there are various other issues which are to be consulted. So that's why we had discussed this question. We needed to know how many all India services are there. We need to know about all India services, under what article they are constituted. We need to know what is their approach, how they are selected, for how they serve for this and state governments, and how they are selected. So this is what is important with respect to all India services, and also with respect to the context of the question. Now with this, I hope you had understood it. Now let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here the question is with respect to time use survey. I guess it is second time we are discussing question related to time use survey. So why it is in news? Because there it has today's news article highlighted a few data that the men working for the household care, or we can say unpaid work done in household, the percentage of men had increased. Percentage of men has increased since 2019. It was 2019 when first time this survey was conducted. Since 2019, the average of percentage of men working in household, the unpaid work, it has increased. But at the same time, the percentage of women working there has also increased. So gap is still there, but we are seeing little progress from the men's side also. So with this, what becomes important for us? This time use survey becomes important for us with respect to our prelims preparation. So let's solve the question and get the information through, get the important pointers through this question. Here the question says, Regarding the time use survey conducted by the National Statistical Office, consider the following statements. First statement, the primary objective of the time use survey is to measure the participation of individuals in both paid and unpaid activities. 100% correct. Its objective is to measure the participation of individuals, whether male or female, in both paid and unpaid activities. Second, time use survey exclusively focuses on the time spent by individuals in formal employment sector. Totally incorrect. It definitely contradicts with the first statement. So second statement is incorrect. Third statement, the time use survey data provides insights into the distribution of time spent on activities such as caregiving, domestic work and leisure. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 3 only, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option B. With this, I hope you had understood the question as well as came to know what was in the news article in nutshell. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here the question is with respect to Bodh Gaya temple. The question is with respect to Bodh Gaya Temple Act of 1949. So here, what is the issue? Let's come to the issue first. Why it is in news? Because since Feb, there had been protests from the from the people following Buddhism with respect to this Bodh Gaya Temple Act of 1949. So what is the issue with this? About the Bodh Gaya temple. It is the issue is with its management. Under this under the Bodh Gaya Temple Act of 1949. So what is the issue? In this, 4 members would be from it would be 9 member. It would be managed by 9 members. 4 members would be from the Buddhism, people following Buddhism, and 4 members would be from the people following Hinduism. And 1 member would be the ex-officio chairperson of it, and he would be the district magistrate, or we can say DM in simpler terms. So 1 member would be the DM. So here there is a concern raised by the Buddhist people that in our country, where where Hinduism enjoys the majority, so there are high chances that the DM of that particular district would be a Hindu. So there are very high chances, very high chances that the DM would be the Hindu. And if DM would be Hindu, so there would be 5 members belonging to the Hindu community, and if any decision would be taken, then they will have the majority, and that decision will be imposed on the Buddhism also. So they, in a way, retaliate. They are protesting against it, that the system should not look like that. They want to have the majority in this. They want to have the say in this, because it is their religious place. They enjoy the the religious activity related to Bodh Gaya. We understand that the first sermon of Lord Buddha, how important it is for them. So they have that real attachment to it. So they believe that they should enjoy the management with respect to the Bodh Gaya temple. They should have the authority with respect to it, and that's why they are protesting against this one ex-officio chairperson, that is DM, who is the chairperson of this temple, who will have the constituting power, who will have the deciding power, who will have the deciding vote, and it may not favor them, because there are high chances that this DM would be a Hindu. So that's why they are protesting against it. So with this, let's solve the question now and get to know what more about the Bodh Gaya Temple Act 1949. The question says, regarding the Bodh Gaya Temple Act of 1949, consider the following statements. First statement, the act provides for the management of the Bodh Gaya temple and its properties. 100% correct. Second, according to the act, the management committee of the temple comprises only Buddhist members. No, it comprises both Buddhist and Hindu members. So we discussed that, we understood that. And third statement, the district magistrate of Bodh Gaya serves as the ex-officio chairperson of the management committee. 100% correct, and this is exactly the issue, and that's why there are protests. So with respect to this question, I hope you had understood the question. The correct answer would be option 1 and 3. Statement 1 and 3, that is correct option would be option B, and I hope you had understood the context of the question also. Now here I would like to add one more thing. You would have seen on the YouTube, there are various YouTube channels who had done much better than I am dreaming of. But I would like to add one more thing here. There are things where you don't need to exaggerate few points. What I'm trying to mention here, that these articles, for your sake, they can be sorted in in a half an hour. But there are channels which will take more than 1 hour time for elaborating on on explaining these issues, in which in nutshell, in if we will make the summary of those, what they actually wanted to convey, what did we understood, that would, if we will take up the important points from their discussion, it would just come within 10 to 20 minutes only. It won't take more time than that. But there are channels, and you follow those, and they have done great. We appreciate them, we appreciate their work. But still, I would like to add here that you can save your time. I'm being little selfish here. You can save your time, but it is for you guys. You can save your time, and within very least time, within limited time, you can learn same thing what you can learn in 2 hour session. So that's what I'm trying to mention here. I hope you won't mind it, because this is not my nature to criticize anybody. I'm not mentioning anybody's name here. I'm not mentioning any particular channel, but usually this is what we find in the YouTube. But trust me, what they explain in 2 hours, we explain it in 30 minutes, and it is much precise, and this is much needed information which we give here, and very targeted information we give here. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here the question is about the Naxal Surrender Victim Relief and Rehabilitation Policy 2025 was launched by which state? Please know that. Why we had discussed this question, because after this policy was established, a recent result has been found out. It has started giving its fruits, and there was a news where 60 Naxals had surrendered under once this policy was introduced. So here we need to know which state has introduced this policy. It is definitely Chhattisgarh which has introduced this policy. So please do remember that. With respect to Karnataka, they also have similar policy. That's why we brought such options here. What does Karnataka have? They have Karnataka have Naxal Surrender Policy 2024. So they have Naxal Surrender Policy 2024. Please don't get confused with it. UPSC may ask a question with respect to it, because many states had brought such policies. And also Madhya Pradesh, they had also a similar kind of policy, which is Naxalite Surrender Rehabilitation Cum Relief Policy 2023. So that's why we brought this question here, to help you differentiate what is this policy about, what are the different wordings in the policy, and to which particular state does it belong to, and why it is in news, because it has started to give its fruits, as under this policy 60 Naxals had surrendered. So with this, let's move to the another slide, which would be where we will solve the last question from the current affairs part. Here the question is with respect to the short selling. Why it is in news? Because the South Korea has resumed short selling after 17 months. So let's solve the question here, get the information about the short sellings, what it is, as it is the important concept which can be asked in the exam. Here the question says, regarding short sellings in the context of financial markets, consider the following statements. First statement: short sellings involves selling borrowed securities with the expectation of buying them back at a lower prices. 100% correct. Under this, what they do, they sell their borrowed securities, and they, with the expectation of buying them back after a certain time, after some time, with at a lower price. So this is exactly what short selling is. In this short selling, we have two types: naked short selling, and another is covered short selling. So let's understand what naked short selling is. It is a practice where the seller borrows the securities before selling them. No, this is incorrect. Here the seller sells the securities before borrowing them. This is exactly what naked short selling is. And the closed is, here the definition of the closed short selling is a practice where the seller borrows the securities before selling them. That is the definition of the closed short selling. So second statement is incorrect. Coming back to the third statement, it says regulatory bodies like SEBI imposes restriction on short selling to mitigate market volatility. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and 3 only. And from the code given below, the correct code is option B. And why we discussed this question? Because the South Korea, they have resumed this again. Now with this, we had completed every question related to the current affairs. As I told you, we try to bring the most important articles which is relevant for your preparation. We discuss them. As I mentioned, I am assuming that you would have not read the newspaper, and if you would have watched this video, and if you had watched it without, if you are watching till now, I hope you had understood what were the articles, important articles in the news, what was the crux of those articles in the simpler terms, and also you had understood what can be the possible questions which can be asked from those particular articles. With this, let's move to the another part of our discussion where we will solve a question from the static portion. As I already told you, we are discussing the Indian polity, and in Indian polity we are discussing the Rajya Sabha right now. So let's solve this question. This will be the last question from the Rajya Sabha. From tomorrow we'll start discussing the Lok Sabha. So here the question says, regarding the emergency related powers of the Rajya Sabha, consider the following statements. First statement, the Rajya Sabha has the power to initiate the revocation of a national emergency. No, it does not have the this power is not limited to Rajya Sabha. So in revocation they do need the Lok Sabha also. So first statement becomes incorrect. Second statement, the Rajya Sabha has the exclusive power to authorize the parliament to legislate on state list subjects during a national emergency. 100% correct. Second statement is true. Third statement, a resolution passed by the Rajya Sabha with a special majority is required to extend a national emergency beyond 6 months. No, this is incorrect because Lok Sabha is needed for that. So with respect to this question, the correct answer would be option 2, statement 2 only, and from the code given below, the correct option would be option B. So with this, I would like to add here that, once the president is empowered to issue proclamation in the event of a national emergency, for example, and also in the event of the final, failure of the constitutional machinery in a state, or in the case of the financial emergency, normally when such thing happens, the proclamation has to be approved by both houses of the parliament within a stipulated period, which is mostly 2 months, within 2 months. For example, under certain circumstances, the Rajya Sabha enjoys special power in this regard. For example, if the Lok Sabha is not there, then Rajya Sabha will, approve this national emergency. Here, the Rajya Sabha will enjoy this power if Lok Sabha is not there. Once the president issues this national emergency and Lok Sabha is not there, then Rajya Sabha will come in and they will, they will have the authority to approve it. So with this, I hope you had understood the question as well as why the important concepts related to emergency related powers of the Rajya Sabha. Now with this, let's move to the last part of our discussion where we will solve a question from the previous year question book and see what question was asked. Well, this question, it was asked in year 2009 in World Geography. So let's see what was the question. The question says, consider the following countries through which Tropic of Capricorn passes. So consider the following countries through which the Tropic of Capricorn passes. So what does it show? If you remember, a few days back we solved a similar kind of question, but the context was through which the equator passes. So here, what does it signify? It shows us that what our approach should be when we are reading these questions, what our approach should be when we are reading our static books, what we need to know. We saw that how questions were asked with respect to the population of various states, with respect to the population of various countries in the Asia itself. So these are few important things, few important facts you need to know for solving your question paper, for solving your exam, for qualifying the exam. So is the case with this question. So here, please do remember what are the countries through which the Tropic of Capricorn passes. So it is Namibia. Is Namibia option here? 100% correct. Through Namibia it passes. Second, it is Botswana. Botswana is not the option here. So please do remember it is Botswana 2. Through it this Tropic of Capricorn passes. It is South Africa. Is South Africa option? No, South Africa is not the option here. It is It is South Africa. It is Mozambique. Is Mozambique option here? No, Mozambique is not the option here. It is Madagascar. Is Madagascar option here? Madagascar is not the option here, but through Madagascar, the Tropic of Capricorn passes. It is Australia. Australia is here, 100% correct. Australia. Through Australia, the Tropic of Capricorn passes. It is Chile. Is Chile here? 100% Chile is here. Through Chile, Tropic of Capricorn passes. Argentina. Is Argentina here? No, Argentina is not here. So please do remember, Argentina is also the country through which the Tropic of Capricorn passes. And Paraguay. Is Paraguay here? No, it is not here. But through Paraguay, the Tropic of Capricorn passes. And also Brazil. Is Brazil here? Yes, exactly. Brazil is here. Through Brazil, also the Tropic of Capricorn passes. So with respect to this question, all the countries which are mentioned in the question, all these are the countries through which the Tropic of Capricorn passes. So option would have been the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Option would have been 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it would have been the correct answer. So with this, I hope you had understood the question and also the way what we need to know when we are solving these previous year questions. With this, I would like to thank you guys. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much and have a nice day.